So, working with layers. First of all, this talks about opening up the layers palette. The palette is a default palette. It should just automatically be there. If for whatever reason it's not, you can always click on the window tab up in the um, toolbar menu. And once again, everything in there is alphabetical. So you just go to layers, click layers, and then the layers tab will pop up. The thing's about to pop up here now. It says layers are independent of each other. What that means is you can make all the changes in the world to one layer and it will not affect anything else. Or you can be trying to work with one layer, but if you don't have it selected, nothing important is going to happen. This is something that's going to happen to you a lot in Photoshop and it can be frustrating. You just always have to make sure that you are organized and are always working within the layer that you want to. We'll just skip over characteristics of layers because what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about the characteristics right now. Things you can do with the layers. You can change the opacity, you can rename them, you can copy them, you can delete them, you can hide them, you can stack them in any order, you can link them. There's so many different things you can do with these layers, but what does this all mean? Who cares? Why does it matter? Let me show you. So back here, we've got my picture of the garden. Right now it's just listed, it's called background. What you can do if you want to start making changes to this is grab this lock and throw it away. And then once you do that, you see it goes to layer number 0. I actually want to take that back. What I really would like to do is right click on this and then duplicate layer. And instead I'll call this garden. So now I've got the exact same image, they're just different layers. I'll always have this background layer though as a safekeeping, as a safe spot, just in case I mess something up on this, in case something goes wrong. So here I've selected one of the layers, I've changed the name of it. I can change the name of this too, I can just call it like safe. But when I did that, also notice that my lock has gone away, so I don't like that. I'm going to take that away as well. Okay, so just in case I ever mess anything up, just like brutally, just like ruin something horribly. Let's say I just like took this little area and started kind of painting in some stuff. Notice I can only paint bucket in the area that I've selected. That's again why we make selections and do things like this. I'll deselect that. Or maybe, I'll just take this bush or part of this bush and grab it and cut it out and move it. But notice nothing seemingly disappeared. That's because you can still see the background. If I were to turn the background off, something else I can do in layers, now I've got this nothing in behind. Turn that back on, turn the top layer off, and then now it's like nothing happened with the front image. So again, this is the same image. It's just a matter of what I can see. I'm turning the top layer off. Now all those adjustments I've just made, you can't see. You can't see any longer. They're still there. You can always go back to them. Or, as we've learned how to copy and paste, we still got our ducky here. I'm going to Command C him. And I'm going to Command V over here. Now I got my ducky. You see when it pops up, it's just layer 1. Once again, don't just call something layer 1. We're going to call him ducky, obviously. We're going to move ducky around a little bit. Maybe you can put him here. And then, as I was mentioning before, you can change ducky's opacity. Right now, his opacity is 100%. You cannot see through him. But if I make it 50%, now you can kind of see through it a little bit more. Becomes a little more see-through. If you make it 13%, it almost looks like it's painted on there. Let's call it 15%. Right? You can see the ducky there. Almost looks like he's painted onto my garage, which is a kind of fun effect that you can always go to and always give that a try. Let's see, I would like my navigator window to come up. You can see how zoomed in I am again. I'd like to zoom back out with the navigator window. So those are things you can do in the layers palette. Something else, if I take this layer, right now the ducky is on the topmost layer in the layers palette, but if I put him down here, on the very bottom, sorry, just underneath the garden, this garden layer has covered the ducky. You can't see him anymore, but if I turn it off, now you can see him because he's still on top of this layer, the very background layer. If I decide that I don't want this garden layer anymore, you can always grab it and throw it away. You can always mess with effects. Those are called layer styles. We'll learn more about those. You can link layers together, and we'll talk about all of these things as we move forward. Really, the main thing that I want you guys to remember about layers for the time being is always, always, always make sure that you are naming them in order to keep them coherent and understandable for you. And then always, always, always make sure that you know which layer that you are working with, playing with. Always make sure the correct one is selected. Also a decent idea to always make a copy of the background layer as well. That is layers. Stand by and we'll get into our next tool.